when I was sworn in as Canada's 28th Governor General in October 2010. The title of my address was A Smart and Caring Nation, a Call to Service. And I said, if you remember only 3 words of what I say today, they are cherish our teachers. And if you had a day or two that we could spend together, I'd tell you 100 stories of teachers, mentors, advisors, counselors who have had an impact on my life. And of course, that's what the wisdom of elders represents in this bench that I'm sitting on. That we learn from people who've gone down the path before and have made some stumbles on the path and recovered and found new path. And have recognized that, as Scott Peck said in his book, The Road Less Traveled, life is complicated. And once you figure that out and learn to take advice to help you along the way, it becomes so much less complicated and the journey becomes so much more pleasant. I so delight in the notion of this concept of elders' wisdom and these benches, like this one here, where someone who's seen a share of life from the experiences is willing to spend his or her time just passing on some of that to the next generation. So they too will have a sense of who they are and that life can be complicated at times, but generally it can be pretty attractive. And one leaves that kind of conversation feeling a little better. The other thing I'd like to say about the concept of the bench is another story I sometimes tell. It's a story of a man, elderly man, sitting on a bench like this in a park in the city, and a young couple came up to him and said, "Sir, we don't mean to disturb your privacy, but could we ask you a question or two? We're new in town." He says, "Oh, by all means, I'd be delighted. I've lived here a long time. I'm sure I could tell you something about the town." They said, "Well, tell us what it's like. We're absolutely new and we really don't know anything about it, but we'd like to get some sense of the community that we moved to." And he said, "Well, I'll be glad to tell you that, but why don't you tell me a bit about the town that you came from before?" I said, "Well, actually, it was a pretty awful place. It was kind of dirty, and the area that we lived in was not very pleasant, and people seemed to be grouchy all the time, and we didn't really make many friends. And fortunately, my husband here was transferred his job, and so we're now here, and so we're interested in what this place is like." The old man says, "Well, as I listen to you, I think you'll find this place pretty much like the place you came from." The young couple went off looking rather downcast. A few minutes later, same man sitting on the bench, another young couple came up. "Sir, we're new here to town. Could we ask you a question?" Or, "Yes. Well, we'd like to know a little bit about this place. Could you tell us a bit about it?" He says, "I'd glad to, but tell me a bit about the place you come from before I answer it." "Oh, we loved it. We were there for a few years, and people were so friendly. They welcomed us, and we didn't live in the most expensive part of town, but it just seemed to be a great place to be, and we really regretted having to leave it because my husband's job was changed and we're here." And he said, he says, "You're going to find this town just about the same." So, 2 different people met the same man, same experiences, but I think what certainly the second couple would learn from that, and maybe even the first, that one's own attitude is pretty important. And elder people who've been through many stages in life are able to share those experiences and indicate that approaching something positively and making the best even of difficult situations can often make that road ahead even better. So once again, I commend this marvelous idea of the elder's wisdom and the chance to sit on a bench to talk about it.